It's day 6 of the Israel-Hamas war, and an all-out ground offensive seems inevitable. Israel has moved its tanks to the border areas. Locals have been asked to evacuate, this even as Hamas rockets continue to fire on southern Israel. Benjamin Netanyahu has declared he won't rest till every member of the Hamas is a dead man.
Heavy mobilization on the ground. Increasingly destructive raids from up in the air.
אנחנו נלחמים באויב אכזר, אויב שהוא גרוע מדאעש.
Israel's new war cabinet vows to wipe Hamas off the earth, forged an emergency government on Wednesday to direct war against Hamas.
אנשים ונשים שנשרפו בעודם חיים.
The Israel-Hamas war has already claimed 2,300 lives on both sides since the October 7th surprise attack by the terrorist group on Israeli territory. Unrelenting retaliatory airstrikes by Israel have reduced the entire city blocks of Gaza to rubble, leaving unknown numbers of bodies beneath the debris. The Israeli military and government has accused Hamas of committing grave atrocities.
The scenes are out of a zombie movie. It's a war zone. And today the body bags, many body bags were evacuated from that kibbutz.
On Wednesday, Hamas launched rockets again into Israel's southern town of Ashkelon.
ये जो आप सामने टुकड़ा रखे हैं, ये है वो रॉकेट जो दरअसल आया हमास की ओर से. इसकी लंबाई देखिए. यही वो रॉकेट है, लगभग 1.5 फुट लंबा, जिसका अब ये खाली शेल है, लेकिन ये खाली शेल भी मैं उठा नहीं सकता.
A ground offensive looks imminent as the Israeli government has created a wartime cabinet to oversee the fight.
What you hear behind me is the roar of the Israeli tanks. It's these tanks which are now moving to the front line. Like, watch very closely. These are tanks of the Israeli army. These are armored personnel carriers.
Terrorists in Gaza are holding an estimated 150 people taken hostage from Israel. The captives include soldiers and women. Meanwhile, the death toll in Gaza has risen to 1,200 early Thursday. According to the United Nations, the number of people displaced by Israeli airstrikes has soared to over 339,000. 2/3 of them crowding into United Nations schools. Home to some 2 million people, more than half of them living in poverty. The 40-kilometer-long Gaza Strip, wedged between Israel, Egypt and the Mediterranean Sea, is bracing for an all-out ground raid by Israeli forces, far bigger than the 2 invasions Israel mounted before. With Ashutosh Mishra in Ashkelon and Gaurav Sawant from the Gaza border. Bureau Report, India Today.
I am right at the front lines, and this is where you have the Israeli army artillery position. You can see those guns one after the other there. That officer and that team, they're loading that gun there. Behind me, that other gun position, and one after the other, these multiple guns are booming and targeting Hamas targets. This is right at the front lines. We are right now barely a couple of kilometers from the Gaza Strip. In fact, you can see Gaza with the naked eye from where I am standing. These guns have now been, this is a dugout gun position. It's a proper artillery gun position where 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 guns, which means this is an important position. These 8 guns are now targeting Hamas strongholds. What you have here behind me are guns that are decimating. There you see. These guns that are firing, they're decimating Hamas leadership bases based on inputs that they're getting. Now, in the skies above, you can also see drones drones that are constantly keeping an eye. Drones that are constantly keeping an eye on every movement and where the shells are landing. In case the shells are not landing exactly where they're meant to land, then a correction is given and then another round is fired. This is systematically punishing the Hamas. This is exactly what the Israeli army is doing right now. And we are at the front lines of this war. Israel's war on radical Islamist terror, Israel's war on Hamas. There has been some criticism of area weapons that are being used because a shell like that is one, like the one that you see right behind me, when this falls, it causes a lot of damage. But as far as Israel is concerned, the officers we've spoken to, they're very clear that they are destroying Hamas strongholds. Their main aim today is to target some of those tunnels where the Hamas uses those tunnels to ferry, transport not just terrorists but also rockets that have been targeting towns like Ashkelon and Sridot, where I am right now. Some of these rockets, Hamas continues even today to have the capability to target these locations. And today there has been some loss of life and property in Sridot, where I was just a short while back, and police and the army are asking people to evacuate very quickly. People are being asked to evacuate because there is an apprehension as this artillery attack, this artillery assault intensifies. As this artillery assault intensifies on Hamas strongholds, there will be some positions from where they will hit back. They will also target the Israeli towns and cities, and Sridot and Ashkelon are two places they would target. In Sridot, people are being asked to move to safer locations. Some houses have been damaged, some people have been hurt. Now police are going door to door asking people to move. Buses are going to be requisitioned, cars are being requisitioned, volunteers are being called in to ask people to move out of this area. We were also asked to move out of this area by the army and the police. They said it's not safe to be here because when there is an artillery attack like the one that's taking place, there is what is known as CB or counter bombardment that takes place. Of course, that happens more in the case of an organized army because an organized army then uses its weapon locating radars to strike back. In this case, we do not know if Hamas has those kinds of capabilities, but Hamas does have the capability to strike. That is why you also have their air defense system in place for if more terrorists want to come in from hang gliders, they will be hanged, as one of the officers told me. He said this is our Pearl Harbor moment. America was surprised in Pearl Harbor, then America destroyed the perpetrators of the Pearl Harbor attack. He said this is what has happened to us. We've woken up. We were in deep slumber. We've woken up, but now we will completely decimate the enemy, which is the Hamas, which is what these guns right behind me are doing right now.